Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to day one of Urada's summer course. My name is Ivana and I will be your moderator for today. Before we begin, please be reminded that this session is being recorded and that if you have any questions, you may drop them in the Q&A chat box of the GoToWebinar platform or in Slido. So right now you should be seeing that the event code on Slido is 9039. So please head on over to Slido and register there. As you all know, this is a learning event, so we look forward to your active participation, even if we are doing things virtually nowadays. I know that most of you are here because you are interested in learning about the open calls for projects which the regional development agencies or organizations you are working for can apply to and learn the skills, tips, and tricks on how to prepare high-quality proposals for them, along with the technical aspects that goes into the process of preparing these proposals. Last year, I attended Urada's summer course for the first time, and it was the perfect opportunity for me because I was doing my internship and had just a very basic idea of projects and project management. The speakers and the activities they had prepared really helped me have a better understanding of the world of regional development and managing projects. I can't wait for you guys to have the same experience starting now with our first speakers who have prepared several presentations and activities about the soft skills you need in managing projects and how you can be a force multiplier when dealing with projects. We in Urada are pleased to welcome Bogdan Celariu and Andra Costin from the Northeast Romanian RDA or ADR Nord-Est. A bit more about our speakers. Andra has an eclectic background in marketing, organizational development, event design and management, community building, and European affairs, all having the strong common thread that is communication. She's passionate about people and their superpower to transcend their limits and ceaselessly expand. Andra is highly skilled at relationship building with teams, partners, and communities. She is experienced at managing projects from ideation and production right up to delivery and completion, and strongly committed to fostering and harnessing the power of community among humans. Andra is a big advocate of finding purpose on the other side of what's in it for me, and she is endlessly in love with art, gardens, poetry, and healthy conscious living. On the other hand, Bogdan is the head of the EU office of the ADR Nord-Est. He is fascinated by change, and he is a curious and enthusiastic practitioner with a background in political science. He has been attending graduate and postgraduate courses at the universities of Iași, Bergen, Oslo, Haifa, and Berkeley. In the past 9 years, Bogdan has been working in local and regional administrations in Romania and in Brussels while dedicating some extra time to research, community, and cultural projects. He loves stories, travels, food, sports, Rio de la Plata, soul, contemporary art, social movements, justice, nature, and community conservation. So as you guys can see, we are all in good hands. So I turn over the floor to you, Bogdan.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can see me already.
Yes, we can.
Great. Ivana, thank you so much for your introduction. It was really great, and we're very happy to have you today as a moderator. I will go fast forward with the presentation and with the details. So briefly, I would like to tell you something about who we are. So ADR Nord-Est is a regional development agency. Briefly, for the people that are not familiar with agencies, what we do is to challenge the status quo and to push people and institutions out of their comfort zone. And we basically get things done in order to generate development and progress. And we're doing this in something that is very much connected with the regional planning. So I'm referring to the regional development plan and to regional innovation plan, and also by managing EU structural funds. So although we are mostly a fund manager, we try not to lose this kind of beneficiary mentality. So on the other hand, we also apply for projects, and we're quite familiar with the Interreg projects, with the Horizon 2020 projects, and so on. What I want to say about today is that we will be experimenting a lot. I'm very happy to have on my side my colleague Andra that will present a lot of interesting things. And well, we try to be as robust and adaptive as possible during these times, and we will be very happy to hear your feedback, like even if it's about how to improve our presentation in a technical way or in a methodological way. Please don't hesitate to write us and to share with us your thoughts. Now I'm just giving the floor to Andra. You're on very good hands from now on. Bye and see you later.
Okay, thank you, Bogdan. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you made it to this course. I hope you are ready and eager to learn. I'm super excited to be here with all of you this morning. As you already know, I'm Andra Costin from Northeast Romania RDA, and I'm here to welcome you to the first day of EURADA summer course, where we're going to explore the unexplored part of European projects, the things that nobody teaches us, and also decode the stiff and hard to understand parts of them. I would very much like to know who's behind the other cameras, so please keep introducing yourself in the chat. You're going to find it on the right side of the screen. Let us know who you are and where are you safely watching from, because, you know, coronavirus. We're gonna just start in a minute with the video presentation, but please, during the video presentation and also throughout the entire day, just leave your questions wherever you like, be it in the GoToWebinar section or on the Slido session. And at the end, we're going to tackle as many as the time allows us to. Okay, before we get started, I want you to look around you very carefully and try to eliminate any distractions so that you can be totally focused on what's coming next and take it all in. Okay then, so let's get started. Let's dive in. We can now proceed with the video. Perfect. All right, and here we go with the 5 soft skills you can afford to overlook in managing European projects. And of course, we're going to teach you how to make the most of them. So I'm assuming you've signed up for this course for a reason. Maybe it's because you want to improve your project development and management skills. You're here because you probably want to be able to scout the best funding opportunities, to write better project proposals, to attract great partners, and of course to increase considerably your success rate, right? And I bet you also want to make a difference with your work too. You want to create impact and change things for the better in some way, isn't it? And last but not least, you want to see some growth. You want to see some results. And it will be great if those will come sooner than later. Here's the really great news. Soft skills are the key to unlocking all of these incredible outcomes. In these rapid changing technological driven times we live now, human soft skills are becoming more crucial than ever before. Automation and AI disruption will result in a rising demand for skills such as creativity, critical thinking or empathy, and the people best equipped to deliver them. As machines take on more tasks that require hard skills, humanity's defining traits of active listening, understanding, and communicating are becoming key differentiators that all industries should be paying attention to as they prepare for the future. And in this wonderful yet challenging world of territorial cooperation, highly focused on human interaction, these skills are even more needed to succeed. Developing and running a successful project does not happen by accident. Nor is it about working harder or hustling more. The secret is developing the critical few skills that really matter, those interpersonal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. But guess what? This type of skills is not something we're taught in school, and there is far less training provided for them than hard skills. Nor are they the skills that project managers even realize they need. This tactical hands-on course will provide you with real-world applicable takeaways that will help you interact more effectively with your peers and increase your productivity, raising the overall rate of your project success and getting you equipped with the best tools to navigate a world of rapid innovation. So let's dive in. Soft skill number 1 is empathy. Now, let me just start with some interesting facts about empathy. Did you know that empathy arrived in the world 65 million years ago? It happened when a huge asteroid collided with what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It is estimated that 3/4 of animal species were erased by that historic event, which spelled the dominion of the ruling species, the dinosaurs. This is how mammals came forth. Consequently, the dominion of eggs was replaced by that of placentas, and a totally different parenting style. Well, the fact is that the egg can look for itself, and no sooner does it hatch than the newborn reptile is ready to operate in the world. In the case of mammals with placentas, however, the young offspring needs care, protection, warmth.
What? Hello, everyone. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. While we get um, while we get that sorted, please don't forget to head on over to Slido and register there. We will be launching some polls and quizzes there in a while. Thank you.
Alright, and here we go with the 5 soft skills you can afford to overlook in managing European projects. And of course, we're gonna teach you how to make the most of them. So I'm assuming you've signed up for this course for a reason. Maybe it's because you want to improve your project development and management skills. You're here because you probably want to be able to scout the best funding opportunities, to write better project proposals, to attract great partners, and of course to increase considerably your success rate, right? And I bet you also want to make a difference with your work too. You want to create impact and change things for the better in some way, isn't it? And last but not least, you want to see some growth. You want to see some results. And it will be great if those will come sooner than later. Here's the really great news. Soft skills are the key to unlocking all of these incredible outcomes. In these rapid changing technological driven times we live now, human soft skills are becoming more crucial than ever before. Automation and AI disruption will result in a rising demand for skills such as creativity, critical thinking, or empathy, and the people best equipped to deliver them. As machines take on more tasks that require hard skills, humanity's defining traits of active listening, understanding, and communicating are becoming key differentiators that all industries should be paying attention to as they prepare for the future. And in this wonderful yet challenging world of territorial cooperation, highly focused on human interaction, these skills are even more needed to succeed. Developing and running a successful project does not happen by accident, nor is it about working harder or hustling more. The secret is developing the critical few skills that really matter, those interpersonal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. But guess what? This type of skills is not something we're taught in school, and there is far less training provided for them than hard skills. Nor are they the skills that project managers even realize they need. This tactical, hands-on course will provide you with real-world applicable takeaways that will help you interact more effectively with your peers and increase your productivity, raising the overall rate of your project success and getting you equipped with the best tools to navigate a world of rapid innovation. So let's dive in. Soft skill number 1 is empathy. Now, let me just start with some interesting facts about empathy. Did you know that empathy arrived in the world 65 million years ago? It happened when a huge asteroid collided with what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It is estimated that 3/4 of animal species were erased by that historic event, which spelled the dominion of the ruling species, the dinosaurs. This is how mammals came forth. Consequently, the dominion of eggs was replaced by that of placentas, and a totally different parenting style. Well, the fact is that the egg can look for itself, and no sooner does it hatch than the newborn reptile is ready to operate in the world. In the case of mammals with placentas, however, the young offspring needs care, protection, warmth, and food. It also needs to be taught quite a few things, varying in number depending on the species. But here's a fun fact. No species is schooled as long as Homo sapiens. That's why the limbic system of humans has evolved in order to manage the emotional needs of the offspring, translated into the ability to understand, as far as possible, other people's needs. Because that's what empathy is the human ability to put oneself into the shoes of another human being, or of several humans at once. Empathy is at the root both of the continuation of the species and the start of civilization. Everybody possesses the neural ability to represent an interior model of external reality. In order to understand someone, you use yourself as a model. Your brain is able to project in imagination not only into another place, but into another time and a different identity, which is essential for being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So just think about this for a moment. Social, scientific, medical, artistic, technological, economic, and even political progress over the past 20 centuries is based on a multitude of small and large cooperations between empathic humans. The constant and accelerating spread of ideas, discoveries, techniques, and solutions has contributed to a large cultural evolution. Needless to say, empathy is an essential ingredient for transcultural cooperation as well. It's essential to building great relationships, establishing common grounds, and developing thriving projects together. Empathy enables you to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. Think of things like the ability to take inputs from a diverse range of people, or to understand the problem in order to find solutions. How can you do that without empathy? But now let's talk about how you can practice it. The research shows that some people are more naturally empathetic than others, but there are easy, evidence-based exercises that anyone can do to strengthen their empathy. Here are 3 of them. First of all, listen actively. Active listening requires being very attentive and fully concentrating on what is being said rather than just passively hearing the message of the speaker. However, this isn't just about concentration. It's also about remembering and understanding the message and then responding appropriately to what it is being said. A person who practices active listening pays attention not only to the message, but also to the person's tone of voice, volume, pace, and whether or not they emphasize certain words. This is important as the true message isn't always found in words, but in how the words are being expressed. Secondly, ask better questions. Bring 3 or 4 thoughtful, even provocative questions to every conversation you have with colleagues or partners. Active listening is, however, not only about listening, but also about communication. Specifically, it's about communicating your understanding of the other person's message. This can be achieved through paraphrasing what the other person has said and asking questions. It's time now to dig a little deeper to uncover the person's feelings and underlying intentions. To do this, you will need to subtly insert some variations of the following questions into your conversation. What's on your mind? How do you feel about that? Please tell me more about. These ones are gentle probing questions that help you get a sense of their current state of mind and how it's affecting them at the present moment. And thirdly, identify with the person's experience. In other words, imagine yourself in their shoes. You might, of course, not always be able to relate to another person's experiences. However, you can still imagine yourself living through those experiences and the feelings and emotions that come along. It's therefore paramount when interacting with another person to take all these factors into consideration. Use them to help shift how you read another person in the context of the situation they find themselves in. Okay, now, let's jump to soft skill number 2, creative thinking. Here's a quick quiz. What do an arrow, an anchor, and an airplane have in common? They are all the fruit of human creativity, from the times of survival to the times of knowledge. The thread that links poisoned arrows to intercontinental flights is called imagination. With strong motivation, access to the widest possible knowledge, and suitable attention to it, imagination has had an evolutionary creative function. Wherever you may be at this moment, you have a clear perception of your environment and surrounding events. Let's do an experiment. Imagine that 3 Wild West cowboys suddenly appear in front of you, and try imagine what will happen in the next 30 seconds. Did the cowboys start shooting? Did they come and sit next to you? Whatever happened, your brain has drawn a parallel reality generated by divergent thinking or the choice from many possible alternatives. Creative thinking is available to the entire human race. That's a fact. It's about drawing in your mind an alternative road to escape the traffic. It's altering an old recipe. It's writing a poem. It's the door to the production of original ideas that have an intrinsic value, just like the arrow, the anchor, or the airplane. In post-industrial society, creativity has become classified as an essential economic resource. In 2011, the total sum of publishing, arts, design, fashion, film, music, and TV shows represented roughly 3% of the European GDP, 500 billion euros, and 6 million jobs. It has grown exponentially since then. According to economists, creativity is destined to have an increasingly key role in global economic competition, because responses to modern challenges are shaped, at times even more than by the price, by the strength and novelty of ideas. As people accustomed to creating and inventing know, there's a particular state of mind connected to abstraction and divergent thinking, which is reached through a peculiar kind of concentration that opens up the prairie of imagination. It's almost like a click that switches on the brain's creative mode. In her book A Mind for Numbers, Barbara Oakley, professor of engineering at Auckland University, calls it the diffuse mode. In a nutshell, the diffuse mode consists of a diffuse thought, capable of observing all the aspects of a problem, and it's typically associated with the default mode network, as opposed to the focus mode, which is the rational and analytic attention of the prefrontal cortex. The methods currently adopted for developing imagination are abundant and varied. Even if you don't usually consider yourself a creative person, you can still develop certain skills that allow you to approach goals and obstacles with an innovative mindset. Everyone has the potential to be creative. To find and develop your inner creativity, you need to know how to get your creative juices out. Here's what you can do. First of all, allow the right space and time for creativity. It's important to have the right physical space and be in the right headspace for creativity. Make your creative space inspirational and clutter-free, but not so bare that you feel devoid of inspiration. Researchers at the Princeton University Neuroscience Institute found that a messy, cluttered environment can make it harder to focus and process information. But some of the most creative geniuses of our time, like Albert Einstein or Steve Jobs, created best in messy environments. The trick is to find what works for you. Make a creative space that helps you strike a balance between being productive and being creative, and you're on your way to developing your creative flow. And don't forget, make the time to create something every day. Start by choosing a time when you know you do your best work. You might be a morning person and work best in the early hours, or you might be a night owl and have a burst of energy in the evening. Play around with it, and once you find your creative sweet spot, build it into your daily routine. Next, look for sources of inspiration. Never expect creativity to just happen. Look for new sources of inspiration that will give you fresh ideas and motivate you to generate unique answers to questions. Read a book, visit a museum, listen to your favorite music, or engage in a lively debate with a friend. Utilize whatever strategy or technique works best for you. Okay, great. Now you can create a mind map. All great creative thinkers are using their imagination. What they are doing in addition to that is they are making links between things, so they are associating. What you have to do when you're being creative is to find those association and connections between things that are going to create something new. Tony Buzan, a renowned English author and an educational consultant, has developed the technique called mind mapping that helps you connect ideas and look for innovative answers to questions. You can create a mind map by writing down a central topic or word. Next, link related terms or ideas around the central word. While similar to brainstorming, this technique allows for branching ideas and offers a very visual way of seeing how these ideas are linked. Next, take risks and keep your thoughts flexible. A risk may be a double-ended sword, but the more you avoid it, the more you are leaving ideas unturned. They allow you to think out of the box, look for the unconventional, and embrace the difference. Creative thinking doesn't necessitate you to conform all the time. In fact, most of the ingenious concepts are born from deviating. Most people tend to focus on one way. This is the way I think, the way I see that, the way I do things. When it should be, how many ways can I see a problem? How many perspectives can I look at it from? And the great creative thinkers play with different perspectives. Now, coming up next, soft skill number 3. Are you ready? Decision making. You will probably agree that every important decision is characterized by a rational calculation of alternative possibilities, right? Well, not exactly. Guess what? Rationality needs emotion. Contrary to the popular thinking that emotions get in the way of decisions, well, they actually are essential to making them. This is vital knowledge to have if you reflect that decision-making is at the root of everyday life, social life, and the planet's economic system. Assuming that the sixth sense doesn't exist, since there is nobody capable of making 100% right choices, intuition, the subliminal ability to make instant decisions even without having access to much information, is an extraordinary resource, especially when a quick decision has to be made and there's no time for slow, reflective thinking. Still, it is also true that gut feeling can often be triggered by a cognitive bias dressed up as intuition, which could therefore turn out to be totally wrong. Neither reason nor intuition always work impeccably well. They are influenced by emotions, the time of day, the food introduced in the system, the number of hours slept, the events experienced shortly beforehand, and current circumstances. For example, you probably already know it is recommended to avoid going to the supermarket when hungry, because hunger would prompt you to buy food you would never eat or more than you actually need. Under normal conditions, the more important the decision, the better it is to postpone it, partly to evaluate the situation better with more information and perfected reasoning, and partly to find the optimal physiological and psychological moment, usually after a night's sleep. Here are 3 tips that can help you improve your decision-making skills and reduce indecision in your everyday life. Number 1. Do your research. Gather information about the situation. Understand the factors involved in the problem. Talk with the involved parties or research what additional information you may need to make an informed decision. Avoid making a decision based on limited information. Step number 2. Narrow your options. Focus on the high priority first. When making a decision, consider ranking your priorities from high to low. Understand what matters to you most in this situation. To simplify the cost-benefit analysis, limit yourself to fewer options. When more choices are presented to us, the greater the difficulty in making a final decision is. More choices can lead to more regret because we consider all of the missed possibilities and worry whether we could have chosen one of the many other routes that were available. As such, narrowing your options will lead to greater peace of mind. And tip number 3, weigh the costs and benefits of the situation. Before reaching your decision, it's important to assess the costs and benefits of each option. By weighing the pros and cons of the situation, you examine the outcome to every possible route, both positive and negative. This will help you see the opportunity costs, or the things you miss out when one decision is preferred over another. But be very careful, don't overdo it. Overthinking a situation may lead to not making the decision or taking the action, in effect paralyzing the outcome. A decision can be treated as overcomplicated with too many detailed options so that a choice is never made. When the opportunity cost of decision analysis exceeds the benefits that could be gained by enacting some decision, the sheer quantity of analysis overwhelms the decision-making process itself, thus preventing a decision. Psychologist Barry Schwartz coined the phrase paradox of choice to describe his consistent findings that, while increased choice allows us to achieve objectively better results, it also leads to greater anxiety, indecision, paralysis, and dissatisfaction. But let's hear it from him.
All of this choice has two negative effects on people. One effect, paradoxically, is that it produces paralysis rather than liberation. With so many options to choose from, people find it very difficult to choose at all. I'll give you one very dramatic example of this, a study that was done of investments in voluntary retirement plans. A colleague of mine got access to investment records from Vanguard, the gigantic mutual fund company of about 1 million employees in about 2,000 different workplaces. And what she found is that for every 10 mutual funds the employer offered, rate of participation went down 2%. You offer 50 funds, 10% fewer employees participate than if you only offer 5. Why? Because with 50 funds to choose from, it's so damn hard to decide which fund to choose that you'll just put it off till tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and of course tomorrow never comes. Understand that not only does this mean that people are going to have to eat dog food when they retire because they don't have enough money put away, it also means that making the decision is so hard that they pass up significant matching money from the employer. By not participating, they are passing up as much as $5,000 a year from the employer, who would happily match their contribution. So paralysis is a consequence of having too many choices, and I think it makes the world look like this. You really want to get the decision right if it's for all eternity, right? You don't want to pick the wrong mutual fund or even the wrong salad dressing. So that's one effect. The second effect is that even if we manage to overcome the paralysis and make a choice, we end up less satisfied with the result of the choice than we would be if we have fewer options to choose from. And there are several reasons for this. One of them is that with a lot of different salad dressings to choose from, if you buy one and it's not perfect, and you know what salad dressing is, it's easy to imagine that you could have made a different choice that would have been better. And what happens is this imagined alternative induces you to regret the decision you made, and this regret subtracts from the satisfaction you get out of the decision you made, even if it was a good decision. The more options there are, the easier it is to regret anything at all that is disappointing about the option that you chose.
Well, that's a thing, isn't it? According to Deloitte, decision paralysis, brought on by the inability to choose between options, is typically the result of cognitive overload and fatigue. The human brain simply isn't designed to process and compare the sheer amount of information it is often given. While we say we want choices, the need to select between endless options can become a cognitive burden rather than a delight. Without ways to mentally manage or weigh the value of information, people struggle to decide and freeze. Let me know if you can relate to any of this. And here we are at soft skill number 4, problem solving. Needless to say, problems are a normal, natural, and unavoidable fact of life. Therefore, it's safe to say that everybody can benefit from having good problem-solving skills, as we all encounter problems on a daily basis. Some of these problems are obviously more severe or complex than others. Problems and finding solutions to them are at the center of European projects. Whether you're solving a problem for your organization or territory, supporting those who are solving problems, or discovering new problems and challenges to solve. Therefore, problem-solving abilities are essential in virtually any kind of project. To put it even shortly, your success will be largely determined by your ability to solve problems. Fortunately, effective problem-solving skills are learnable skills that you can develop with practice. Here's a 7-step method that you can use in the process of European project management to deal effectively with any problem that comes along. First step, deconstruct the problem. Get to the root of it. What exactly is the problem? Get the facts, get the real facts, not the apparent facts or the obvious ones, but the real facts underlying the situation. It's amazing how much time and energy is wasted every day attempting to solve problems, when the people involved are not even clear what the cause is in the first place. 5 Whys is a problem-solving tool to help you get to the root of a problem. By repeatedly asking the question why on a problem, you can dig into the root cause of it, and that's how you can find the best solution to tackle the root problem once and for all. And it can go deeper than just asking why for 5 times. Step number 2, focus on the solution, not the problem. The only part of this problem situation that you can control is your attitude, the way in which you approach each problem as it arises. Unfortunately, most of us allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by problems. We think and talk continually about who is to blame and why the problem occurred and the possible damage or cost. But this is not helpful. Instead, our job is to concentrate all our energies on what can be done to solve the problem, whatever it is. Step number 3, list out as many solutions as possible. Try to come up with all possible solutions, even if they seem ridiculous at first. It's important to keep an open mind to boost creative thinking, which can trigger potential solutions. Step number 4, use language that creates possibility. Lead your thinking with phrases like "what if" and "imagine if." These terms open up your brain to think creatively and encourage solutions. Avoid closed negative language such as "I don't think" or "but this is not right." Step number 5, make a decision. Choose a solution. Fortunately, you already know how to make better decisions and that any decision is usually better than no decision at all. In fact, 80% of problems should be solved the moment they come up. Only 20% of problems need time and deliberation. Step number 6, assign responsibility for carrying out the chosen solution. Who exactly is going to do what and when and to what standard? If it's you, determine when you're going to do it and at what standards you're going to achieve it. A solution without a standard or a deadline is not a solution at all, it's merely a discussion. And step number 7, and probably the most important one, take action to implement the solution. Action is everything. And the last soft skill we talk about today, soft skill number 5, conflict resolution. As much as we'd all love to work in an environment that's free of disagreements and conflicts, that idea is simply unreasonable. Unfortunately, conflict is a major part of work and life in general. Bring together a group of people to work on a project, and there is bound to be conflict at some point. Everyone has a different need, goal, attitude, or outlook, which doesn't always agree with someone else's. However, conflict is also a healthy, important part of a collaboration relationship. It means that people are learning to both stand up for their beliefs and compromise on some matters. Unfortunately, sometimes conflict can be immensely costly and damaging to projects and partnerships, not to mention disastrous for productivity. It can be a major cause of stress in the work team, and it can lead to long-standing grievances, factionalism, and absenteeism. Confident conflict resolution skills will set you apart. Being able to handle conflict effectively, whatever the situation, is an ability that will help you to build strong, constructive working relationships and improve the overall performance of your project. Different people use different methods to resolve conflict, and most people have one or more natural preferred conflict resolution strategies that they use regularly. It is possible to scientifically measure an individual's inclinations towards specific conflict resolution strategies. The Thomas Kilmann model identifies 5 different approaches to resolving conflict. And I want to get started with avoiding. Someone who uses a strategy of avoiding mostly tries to ignore or sidestep the conflict, hoping it will resolve itself or dissipate. Next one, accommodating. Using the strategy of accommodating to resolve conflict essentially involves taking steps to satisfy the other party's concerns or demands at the expense of your own needs or desires. Third approach, compromising. The strategy of compromising involves finding an acceptable resolution that will partly, but not entirely, satisfy the concerns of all parties involved. Next one, competing. Someone who uses the conflict resolution strategy of competing tries to satisfy their own desires at the expense of the other parties involved. And the last one, collaborating. Using collaborating involves finding a solution that entirely satisfies the concerns of all involved parties. Each of the conflict resolution strategies mentioned involves different degrees of concern for self and concern for others. The good news is there are many useful behaviors which can support you in approaching conflicts with confidence and calm, rather than avoiding them or just trying to smooth things over. Here's how you can supercharge your conflict resolution skills. Listen actively to ensure that you fully understand the position of those involved in the conflict. Identify specific points of disagreement. Express your own views and needs clearly and firmly, but without aggression. View conflict as an opportunity for growth, and focus on specific issues without generalizing or escalating the situation. Alright then, now you have the tools and techniques necessary to keep harmony among your project team. That's all, folks. I hope you're leaving this course with some valuable takeaways and that you'll put them in practice as soon as possible. Take care and don't forget, soft skills matter. Okay, guys. I hope you can hear me and see me. Okay. Well, I really hope that you find useful all the information that I've just shared in the video presentation, and hopefully you are going to put them in practice as soon as possible. I just wanted to send a warm welcome to those that had the chance to write their name in the Slido session. So welcome to Elena, Cristina, and Carmen from Spain, Sebastian, Bianca, Daniela, Ioana, Daria, Liviu from Romania, Lilia from the Republic of Moldova, Tessa from Belgium, and Valentina from Italy, and we also have some people from Austria and Netherlands, but unfortunately we don't have the names, but we're here with you. So I'm gonna just pass the floor to Ivana, and we're going to introduce you to the quiz that we've prepared for you.
Yes, I think our colleague Roser will be launching that right now, and it is live on Slido, so please everyone head on over there. We look forward to seeing your responses. To get to Slido, please go either through your phone, through the browser, or on your computer, and then enter the code 9039. We can see that a lot of people are having connection problems. Some of you can't see the video or hear the audio. Our recommendation is please try to reconnect because unfortunately it's beyond our control. It's with the system. So please try to reconnect.
Okay.
We can see that there are 85 attendees and 41 people have already answered on Slido. So everyone, please head on over to Slido.
So we also have with us Kasia from Brussels, Simona from Romania, Marcus from Austria, Menap from Turkey. I'm just trying to go through all of the messages. Happy to have you here with us today. I hope you've already answered the poll. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can see the correct answers once you've answered the poll.
Right now on the screen, they are being shown the poll and the correct answer has a green mark next to it. And so you should be able to see that.
Yes, we can see that, but each of them, each of the participants, if they can see the correct answer for the polls, because I cannot see it, for example.
Okay, so Andrea, while others are still answering the questions on the poll, we have a question from Andrea. He says, thank you for your presentation. I have a question. Besides these 5 soft skills, would you suggest other useful soft skills to work with projects?
Okay, that's a good question. Of course, there are many soft skills that you can improve and that basically
can help you to manage better the European projects and the team that you are developing within an European project. I would say that another soft skill, very important while managing an European project, will be to take care that everyone is fully engaged. So try to be present and to make everyone be as fully as present as they can be. There are several techniques and practices to engage the entire team and also to make them to participate. So the first one, I would say that you should try to acknowledge the contribution of every person in the team, and also to make it popular among the entire team. When someone is aware of the fact that he or she is bringing a very important part in a project or in any kind of endeavor, is going to be more and more willing to do his part, or she or her part, and the results are going to be even better.
Exactly. This is also what Carmen Serna says. She has some experience working on EU projects now, and she wants to add that collaborative mindset is an important asset to have too. We have another question from Fabrizio from Italy. Molise Regional Development Agency, can we have a definition of soft skills? So how would you define a soft skill?
Well, anything that isn't a hard skill, that will be the short answer. But when it comes to soft skills, it's actually the part that defines a human being. Is the attributes that connect all of us, and that makes us to harness the power of humanity, and of course of the power of working together as a community. So I would say that a soft skill is actually the humane part of every person.
To add to that, somebody asked, do you feel that soft skills are underestimated by many project managers? What can we do to change this mindset?
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, these days soft skills are overlooked, and especially in this era that we live now, in this technological-driven era that we live now. I think soft skills are going to be the superpower of humans to thrive and to succeed in any kind of endeavor that he or she finds in. Yeah, soft skills maybe today aren't that I don't know, aren't that empowering, or aren't that looked up for, but for sure in the next 2 or 3 years the things are going to change, and you're going to see that soft skills are going to be the superpower of humans.
All right. So thank you everyone for your questions. Andra, should we proceed and show the results of the poll?
Okay.
So right now we have empathy was developed as a result of 94% say that it is a result of the emotional needs of the mammal offsprings.
Correct.
Okay, can you see? Yeah, so number 2, the more options we have when making a decision, the harder it is to avoid analysis paralysis. 65% answered it, and it is correct. The next one. Creativity can be boosted by allowing the right headspace and time for the process of creation. And 87% of you answered the correct, chose the correct option. A lot of you are paying attention to the video. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Andra, shall we continue our session with Bogdan?
Yes, we should give him the floor.
Mhm.
So I'm back. I will make no introduction to my video. I want to say that it's a material I'm experimenting. It's something that I recorded. I had a lot of sources of information, and well, I hope you will enjoy it. We could just make a small debate at the end. So if you can proceed with the video, I will be very happy. See you in a bit. Hi everyone, thank you very much for being today with us. Briefly, what's the plan for today? Well, we just want to make the understanding of EU projects much easier and to go a bit beyond of the language of people are using today, like a lot of technical things, nobody really gets what they're talking about. So we really want to bring the conversation at a very, very understandable level. Secondly, we would like you to start doing projects. That's also our purpose, and hopefully we will do it together someday. The idea is that you could do a lot of things to become attractive when it comes to projects. Like you can start reading tons of books and you could become a very smart person, or you could just hire the most expensive consultant in Europe or in the world. You could spend tons of money on lobby just so that all the companies and all the research centers in Europe would want you as a partner. You could do a lot of things that would just make your profile incredible. But what we are focusing today is really on changing really little things that could increase your possibility to grab a project or to be successful with, I don't know, 10, 50, 80%. So this is our purpose for today. Now, also part of my introduction, I would like to briefly explain you something that I find it very important. I would like very much to be able after today to make a difference between leadership and management. My question to you today would be also, what do we need for a project? Do we need a leader or a manager? The next question, of course, is who am I, or who is my boss? Is my boss a manager or a leader? Is a manager or leader even the person I'm looking for to join a project, or so on? The thing is that we simply cannot talk about projects without understanding this, and I find it really, really important to clarify it before starting anything else. What are leaders really doing? Well, actually they are preparing the organization for change, so it's important to understand that leadership skills are different from the management skills. Secondly, management implies coping with complexity. So with a lot of budgets, a lot of people, a lot of inputs, a lot of outputs, a lot of projections, a lot of trajectories. Leadership implies learning how to cope with direct change. So it's constantly this obsession about change. Leadership also means more induction, no detailed plans, but visions, rather some sort of comfort with chaos and unpredictable situations, and also moving a lot of things in the future. Important,
managers really do promote stability while leaders press for change. So sometimes you could expect clashes between the two. Also, we could say that today we easily observe that the world is overmanaged but underled. Another example for the literature says that during peace you basically need managers and leaders on the top, but basically if you have a war you need leadership everywhere. Also, I would like to underline the fact that leadership is more about aligning people, creating coalitions, like basically aligning and putting all the machine towards an objective or towards a vision. Leaders are also very comfortable with ambiguity and change, and they have a mix of technical skills, cognitive abilities, and emotional intelligence. And sometimes managers don't have this. Of course, they have other skills and abilities. I really think that the above mentioned details are really extremely important in the creation phase of a project. Then the next question to you is like, what kind of people do we need? What are these roles? Like everything is so complicated. Well, something that I would say is that, well, you might need both. Like for instance, in the creation phase of a project is absolutely crucial to have a leader that is aligning people, pushing things forward, going a bit beyond the line and things like this. But then once the financing agreement is signed, you definitely need a manager that would just conserve this situation. So I think it's very interesting to see the project as a creation phase and an execution phase with different roles and different people that can be the engines. This was my introduction. Next is the presentation. Hi everyone. We're back. I would try to make this session much faster, so to make like a fire session, like to give you as many details as possible in a very short time. Like I will try to summarize everything. First, I think it's about time to introduce myself. So my name is Bogdan. I'm the head of Brussels office of ADR Nord-Est, which is the Northeast Romania Regional Development Agency. Why am I presenting these things to you today? Well, I think they will make you able to get more things done. How I'm going to present you? Well, I will use some basic literature and some materials that I have from some other courses, but most of the things will be based on my daily examples from Brussels. What I'm going to present to you today? Well, how to think in networks, how to understand culture, how to be an idea space integrator, and how things really happen when it comes to projects. And then we will have some sort of checkout and discussion at the end. Just a few things about my agency. Basically, what we do shortly is that we challenge the status quo in my region, in Northeast Romania, and we push people and institutions out of their comfort zone, and we get things done in order to generate development and progress. So this is the most important thing that guides us. We're also doing this through the regional planning and by managing EU structural funds. But apart from this, we also navigate through all this project ecosystem in Europe, and we want to be active. Okay, fast forward. 1. Think in networks. You know, social class divide a lot humans, and also we could see these days also how divided we are when it comes to race or religion or economic and political beliefs. And actually, on the other side, the world itself is not a collection of individuals, but rather a collection of networks. And it's very, very important to be aware of this, especially when it comes to projects. And you need people outside of your community to work with you. Community being like company, RDA, NGO, anything. Example, for instance, when you address a person with the project proposal, never forget that the person is part of an ecosystem. And the faster you understand what keeps people together when it comes to that ecosystem, the sooner you will get like positive results. Sometimes it's very useful just to sit down and to write, you know, what kind of individual I'm contacting, what is his or her role in the organization. You know, some people are the gatekeepers, some are the connectors, some are the trendsetters, some are like the validators, the messianic, the paranoid, the positive or the negative. It's a loop that connects with the first discussion about leaders versus managers. Also doing some sort of personalia, like putting these people on a map and saying like, I know these guys, or I want to reach this person. Um, just to give you an example, for a certain project, I needed a person, particularly from a city in Belgium, and it was not possible to solve this without those people. And you know, I wrote them tons of emails. Nobody was replying. I tried to call them. They were saying, yes, yes, that person was not there. I couldn't find the director of a certain unit. And guess what? Like, I was really pushing all my intellectual limits and common sense to the edge of my understanding. And then I said, well, what would be next? Like, let's really search when these people will be in Brussels for events. I will go there and I will sit in the first row, and when they finish their speech, I will just go and grab their hand and say, look, I really have something serious to communicate to you. So that was just a small example that it's really, really, really like an intelligence work just to understand, and really to understand how people connect themselves and how to reach someone that really has something to say about joining a project or not. Just something else I would like to add here. I remember my first week in Brussels. I went to meet someone very important at the European Commission, and well, I was just moving from a Mediterranean city to a very rainy place. I was really, 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 really depressed, and I could not concentrate at all during the meeting. And this very important person noticed this and told me, well, since when you're in Brussels? And I said, well, it's my first day. And she told me, okay, let's just forget about why you're here and let me tell you how was my first day in Brussels. And she told me that her first day in Brussels, she had a meeting with her supervisor, back then working for the Swiss Cooperation Agency, and she told me that that guy basically asked her to collect 30 business cards per day. We had a very, very interesting conversation about what that means and how important it is to understand crowds and people, what keeps them together and what motivates them. The next part, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I'm using this title just to underline the importance of culture in our daily business. For instance, when you design a project and when you approach other entities, it's absolutely crucial to be aware of the culture they belong to. But I'm not talking in nationalities, stereotypes, or labels. Cultural awareness is very different than stereotyping. And it's important to understand the culture share certain commonalities. For instance, just to bring some positive side in this debate is that, you know, we all have the same facial expressions. We more or less have the same colors everywhere. We divide time in present, past, and future. All of us, like from East Timor to New York, we fear spiders and snakes. And also, like from the North Pole to South Africa, we are very much into the production of art, no matter what it is. And also something that is interesting for humans is that we divide the world also in what's inside our group and outside our group. And also that makes the world very diverse. Just to give you some facts on that, when you say I have to understand better Asia because I would like to make a project with some people over there, well, of course, Asia is big. Like, just to give you an example, half of the people from India and Pakistan say that they would marry without love, while only 2% of the Japanese would do so. So where is Asia? Who represents Asia? Or also, I remember some years ago, I had like a very short scholarship in South Korea, and somebody in South Korea told me that, you know, I have to tell you something. I think it's very weird that you in Europe consider that Germans are hard workers. And I asked why. Well, because we were in Europe and we wanted to sign a contract on a Saturday, and we called a lot of people from our German partner, and nobody wanted to do this. And I was like, that's normal to me. So you imagine how many differences there are when it comes to culture. And also, just to give you an example on negotiation, when you create a consortium, remember, for instance, that for some cultures in Europe, being critical is a compliment. Some cultures are more shy in actually showing or telling you what they really think, but it's very, very, very important to understand particularities when you communicate with these people. Like really, if you don't like this, try not to get involved in projects. The next part is called be an idea space integrator. What does it mean actually? Well, it simply means to be the glue of other people. So simply to glue people. It has this sophisticated name from literature, from a book that I like very much, The Social Animal is called. What I would like to talk a bit about organizations, like just to give you an example for this book, they say that in many organizations they are divided between departments. So one would say that a group or a company, if a group or a company has more than 150 people, is not working well anymore. Still, even in smaller companies, you have a lot of fractions. Like, just to give you an example with the European Commission, maybe that's not small, but if we talk about intellectual property and games, you would see that the Directorate from Trade has a different policy proposal than the Directorate for ITC. So conflict is normal. That's also important to understand that sometimes if you want to contact an organization, maybe you contacted the right organization, but not the right department or the right person. Please be aware of this when you're writing an email or you make a call. Also, the main question for me here years ago was, so what am I supposed to do in order to connect better with all the people around me? Like, what's the secret? Like, what keeps people together? And David Brooks has a very interesting theory saying that basically what keeps people together is mostly love, but of course you cannot love all the people you work with. And apparently what keeps people together is actually trust. And there is this theory that trust is more or less like playing volleyball, but instead of the ball we use fluxes of communication and cooperation, like little, yes. And little by little people are playing the game and they start to risk and sacrifice for each other. So that's basically when you have really a relationship based on trust. Imagine, for instance, that if you're looking for a partner or you want to promote a project proposal, that if an entity will not read your email or they will mislead or there will be errors, they will commit, but they will never be the nice partners. So it's very, very important to trust people and to test the trust or to have some sort of living lab approach when it comes to trust. Also, what is important is that trust reduces friction, and also people give themselves more flexibility when it comes to negotiating budgets, working packages, and so on. Also, a small discussion here around be the glue of other people and structural holes. In literature, it is told that structural hole is a concept originating from Ronald Stewart Bart. And the structural holes are basically places where the flow of ideas stops. So let's say that we have like many companies or many NGOs and they have ideas, but simply it stops at the door of the company. Typically, people working in Brussels for their region, cluster, and so on are considered gatekeepers. And gatekeepers are basically these people that just jump over the fence of the other organization and they bring an idea. So basically they enable this flow of ideas. Generally speaking, is it told that within a group there is a higher homogeneity of information as compared with that in between two groups. So it means that if you belong to a group, your ideas are quite limited. If you belong to 2 or 3 groups, your ideas are like more sophisticated. The gatekeeper is very important because of this, so he has like a lot of ideas. The only problem that is missing is that it has like, let's say, fragile ties with their own organization. So I understand what is happening outside, but maybe I don't have the checks and balances to put some people into motion in my own organization. Still, it's important to have this kind of gatekeeper mindset, even if when you're not working in Brussels. And that means that you really have to concentrate on having access to external contacts, like make friends, try always to communicate and to change emails with someone from another organization that you met at a conference or so on. Try to think outside the box and try to have a different communication network. That's very important. Now, the fourth part is called how things really happen. And sometimes, things happen very, very, very different than you expect. Like somebody calls you out of nothing, or a friend calls you and says, look, we have a consortium, we would like you to join in. Or a close partner is asking you to join the consortium. Or there's some kind of semi-public call. Somebody is looking desperately for another partner, maybe from your region. It's really, really important to train your situational intelligence in order to be aware of the environment. Just to give you an example, situational intelligence allows you to take very, very fast decisions. Like there is this example with the terrorist attack in Bataclan, for instance, where the attackers had a lot of time to change different, to charge their weapons, which means that more people could have escaped if they had like situational intelligence. Most of the people, when they're confronted with a stressful and complex situation, they just freeze. Situational intelligence means also that you could take decisions constantly and very, very fast. So it's important to train your situational intelligence. Please play the game like you have nothing to lose. So this proposal making, it's a game and you really have to play it. There will be never a perfect topic and a perfect day with the perfect boss, with the perfect budget, with the perfect call waiting for you. Please show interest when needed, like if somebody invites you for something, jump into a plane, attend a meeting, like be present. I will talk about this a bit later also. Also try to get pre-approvals from your management. You also have these organizations where you ask someone, would you like to join a project? I mean, we have a proposal and the deadline is soon, as they would say, yeah, but I have to talk with my director. Okay, but if this takes like 3 weeks, then you're out from the beginning. Basically, you need to take pre-approvals on topics or on partners or a strategy or so on. So the conclusion for this part is this. Please think in networks. So start doing personalia. Know who you meet, never waste a meeting, like prepare it very well. Think more often in what keeps people together. Also about culture eats strategy for breakfast. Try to develop a cultural awareness, try to think more often about the granularity of culture. Also, don't forget to be an idea space integrator, so the so-called the glue of other people. Create trust, like if people are paranoid, you have to become the person that creates trust. You have to become a gatekeeper, so please help the idea jump the fence of to jump the fence of your organization. Also, find structural holes and be prepared to solve the problems. And when it comes to how things really happen, really train your situational intelligence, like play the game and ask for what you want and really be prepared to get it. In so many cases, success is much easier than you think. Like really go beyond your expectations and be proactive. I will come back soon with the last loop of the content. So now I don't have a lot of time left, but I would just try to resume some very, very, very important things that you could really do in your daily life and could just make your life much easier when it comes to projects. So one, be present. Remember that the learning retention rate is about 7% from emails and about 62% from storytelling. What does it mean? Like when you write an email to someone, if the people that read it take so little back, you can imagine this? Like I was really wondering, like for years I spent so many emails expecting people to write back. They never did. And now actually when I have something important to communicate, I would never write an email. I would always try to call or ask for a meeting. Really think about this. It's very, very important. Also, another important thing, if you want to build networks around you and you want to create coalitions and to understand more the social landscape, try to create trust with these people. Build honorary boards, create board honorary positions, give more awards as an organization, but like try to engage more people in what you're doing. It's really, really important. Also, culture. When you are contacting a certain company, really ask yourself again, who am I contacting? What is the culture of their organization? Is it adaptive? Is it collaborative? Is it results oriented? Is it people oriented? Is it customer oriented? But also like try to understand what's their culture. Who are you? Who are they? Also, if you have conflicts within a consortium or even some conflicts with your colleagues or with external people, really go back to the culture audit tool and try to understand what is the cultural gap. Also ask the people what's wrong. Use persuasion. Like remember, being persuasive doesn't mean force, power, manipulation, or lying. Basically, it's not about this, it's about influence. Also remember the statistics that when you negotiate something, a budget or something like this, people that start negotiating immediately, they have only a 55% of success, while people that start with exchange of some personal information have the success rate that goes up to 90%. Also, last but not least, one of the best things that happened to me last year was that I attended a lecture by Dr. Sahar Youssef, and she's a cognitive neuroscientist and lecturer at UC Berkeley in California. And the story she tells is like this. Basically, today we are able to work mostly everywhere and anyhow. Like we have computers and the virus situation has made everything even worse. Still, our work is constantly hijacked by constant interruptions. Like, you know, a lot of emails, a lot of unproductive meetings and so on. So people actually go to work, but in reality, according to a lot of research, apparently our only focused and productive time is more or less around 3 hours per day. Of course, a lot of things have changed, like, you know, the communication we use in the past used to be in person, now it's by email and so on. We used to work from 9 to 5, now basically we work continuously because there's a constant flow of emails that comes to us. Also, like, you know, email decentralized a lot of things. Like before, imagine, before internet, you could not even talk to your manager or CAO, but now with internet, it's so easy to drop a line. Also, space is different, like the transition from the cubicles to the open floor and so on. But still, where do we go from here? It's like the question of Sahar. And she says that everything has changed, but our biological brain is the same. So that's quite interesting. Also imagine this, that according to a study that was done by UC Irvine, the frequency of interruptions was 1 every 11 minutes in 2008, and now it's 1 every 90 seconds. So like a message or an email. What does it mean? It means that our brain needs more or less between 4 and 7 minutes just to concentrate to a task. So if you have a distraction every 90 minutes, you basically never get focused during the day. So also, according to some other studies, even the mere presence of a smartphone on your desk reduces your brain power. So even when it's off or even when it's not yours, that's very important. When you meet your colleagues, move away your phones, like get away all this distraction. If you want to work for a project, do it. Also stop multitasking. Multitasking is also something very problematic because the brain needs a lot of energy to do context switching. According to some people, multitasking does not exist. If you don't believe it, I could give you a test after. Also, something that sounds very funny, it's like understand better the ideal blood glucose level of the people you meet. Like, just to give you an example, after lunch the glucose goes up, but then it goes down again. So if you have like a great project idea, if you present it to your boss or someone from another company, if you present that proposal in a moment when the person has a low glucose level, just expect for a no. So always remind all these little hacks. Also remember to sleep more, and also something very important, really embrace complexity of people. Don't forget that some of us are like very comfortable to present things. Some of us are very productive like in one-to-one context, or we are very productive in groups of 2 or in triads or in groups of 4 or in groups bigger than 5. So some people are really intelligent in writing something, communicating something verbally, in some visual communication and so on. And always when you work in a team or you want to engage people, make sure that you have a tool or you make use of some sort of technology that allows all this kind of intelligence and all this kind of ideas to come in. Okay, this is it from me. Thank you so much. I think I'm running out of time. Bye.
So we're back here. I hope you enjoyed our videos. I will just try to give the mic back to Ivana and to check a bit if I got any messages from you.
Yes, Bogdan, thank you so much for your presentation. We are all guilty of several things you mentioned, like, for example, multitasking and always having our phones. So I do think that we should be more mindful about those things. We do have some questions from Valentina, for example. What to do when you can't find the right fit for the project, especially experts? There are strong time constraints and your network is not helping.
Oh, I'm afraid I don't have the right answer for this, but I do believe that in any circumstances, just discussing with your team or putting down some profiles, maybe some people that would be able to do this, maybe they are like the person next door, but you never had the serious discussion with them about projects, right? I would really start like this. I will underline very much what I said at the end of the presentation, that our intelligence is very diverse. And for the moment, we do believe that the person that speaks the loudest in the room is the most intelligent. Sometimes there's a lot of intelligent people that are very quiet. Sometimes we say that our visible colleagues are the most important. But we do have invisible colleagues that they might also have a lot of skills. They could be perfect in our projects, but we never open up the conversation with them. So one thing for me would be like increase your awareness. Unfortunately, in all our organizations, I'm afraid that we do very superficial screenings when we want to make like a project team. More often we look to the noisy people or to the loud people. We eliminate all the rest. And then, of course, if we find no resources with us within our organization, we should just look outside. And then I would really start this exercise about collecting 30 business cards per day. Like understanding what's your environment is very important. And I think if you do this exercise for a week, it's incredible how many people with a lot of expertise you could find next to you. Also, you have to remember that problems are solved with people next to you. Like there's no secret solution, special recruitment company, a secret database of experts, or so on. Like, the solution, very sure it will be next to
Mhm. So we are running a bit late behind schedule. I guess we should invite people to answer the poll that is on Slido right now. And we still have a lot of questions for you though, Bogdan. So I'm gonna keep asking them, okay?
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know, what is your advice about knowing your network now that we are doing things virtually?
Oh, that's super complicated. Well, we don't know. We also try to adapt now, actually. So I must share with you my fear that technology makes it quite hard to have, for instance, some sort of private conversation. You know, just to give you an example, if I go to an event and I meet a person and I want to propose a project or I want to discuss the terms of a call, let's say from the European Commission, when I'm discussing this in a coffee break, it's indeed a closed conversation and private one, and we allow ourselves to go off the record quite a lot. So I would become very critical, the other person would be very critical, we would say something funny, we would just bonding would be much easier. But online, I'm afraid we need some adaptation time. So for the moment, I have no answer to this. I still find it very awkward to find someone, to call someone on Skype or on Zoom or on whatever, and to ask some uncomfortable questions. I do believe that that person might be suspicious, that maybe he or she is recorded, or maybe technology is not so private as we want. So for the moment, I don't know. I have no idea. We're working on it, actually.
Yes. Another question, should cultural gaps or differences be addressed within the consortium before starting the project?
Might be a good idea. For instance, an example, I find it very useful to play some games with people, especially if they have different nationalities, to create some sort of cultural awareness. To give you an example, if I would ask you, I would say, Ivana, I have a project to propose you that has a small budget. If you say this statement to 30 people, you would have 30 definitions of small budget. And the small budget in Germany would be different than a small budget in Italy, would be different than a small budget in Poland, and would be different than a small budget in Norway. So even things that we assume they're quite, let's say, the same among us, they are not the same. So addressing these things at the beginning is very important, like to understand what's a short deadline for me, what's a short deadline for you. Like for me, it might be 2 weeks. For you, maybe it's 3 days. For another person, might be 1 month. Or like things like this, that in the project you would get really in a lot of trouble, mostly because we do not have the same understanding, even sometimes in the same country, about very basic things like what does it mean little money, what does it mean short time, what does it mean big budget, what does it mean competitive, what does it mean fast, and so on. So yes, indeed, addressing this at the beginning, I think would be great.
It is a smart idea. So we see that 26 of you have already responded to the poll, and we have 83 attendees. So guys, please don't forget to head on over to the polls. And Bogdan, we have another question. What is your personal top 3 personal and project skills that we need for our RDA jobs?
I would just go back a bit to my first debate in between leaders and managers. And in order, I do make a difference. So I think that if you want to win a project, you have to be mostly a leader. And if you want to manage a project, you need to be more like a manager. And if you want to be a leader, I think you need like a lot of emotional intelligence, good negotiation skills, cultural awareness, and well, this kind of soft skills. So for the leader, when it comes to the winning the project and then actually delivering what you have to do, well, you need many other things, like you need to understand budgets, you need to understand human resources very well. So I would go mostly on this, like a basic understanding of finance and the basic understanding of people, like referring to human resources, like knowing who to do what and in what time. Otherwise, the project will be a big mess again.
Another question is from Bianca. What is the difference between culture and tradition for you? Because I think there are a lot of definitions of this. So for you, what do you think is the difference between culture and tradition?
I never thought of this. To be honest, for me, culture is something that stays there for much longer than, let's say, tradition. So, and I actually see, I could understand that tradition is part of culture. Culture would be like the monolith and the iceberg of everything. That would be tradition, norms, short-term norms, superficial ideas, persistent ideas, forms of technology, language, habits, and so on. So the way I see it is I think that a tradition can be, let's say, changed a bit faster than the culture. And I think that tradition is more like a segment of culture, but I might be wrong. It's just my understanding.
All right. So we can take one more question and then I think we should head on to the poll. So last question from Lilia. How to manage time at work so that we can have more productive hours? So what is your tips in organizing your tasks or time management tips?
So, well, first of all, I think you need some kind of mental ecology, and you have to push a lot for this kind of mental ecology. Like to start with, like an audit. For instance, an audit that I would recommend it to everyone is first to understand what kind of person you are. Are you like a morning person? When is your favorite time and the most productive time of the day? And basically with this, I suggest you to do like a self-study, like basically try to write every day at the end of the day, what do you think it was the most productive time of the day? And analyze this. And once you realize that you're a morning person, or you work the best from 10 to 11, or from 1 to 3, or from 6 to 7, do your best to protect that part of your day and to use it for the most important task, like prioritizing this thing. For instance, if the most important, if you're a morning person and you work the best from 8 to 10, never read emails from 8 to 10. Like, try to write a project, try to work at a very complex budget, try to solve something really meaningful. And then do the emails in the so-called less productive time. Or the same, if you have a very important meeting, try to put that meeting in the moment of the day you're very active. If you want to have a good meeting, try to eliminate distractions, try not to do multitasking, try to hide your phone, and so on. But I believe that there's a solution in every one of us. So I would start first with an audit. Like, we basically know each other the best, so we should just analyze a bit our behavior. And yeah, this I think is the best thing to do.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's proceed over to the results of the poll.
I must say that the poll was, it's more or less a funny thing. It's not very serious. It's mostly to fix a bit some of the things we discussed, and also to have an idea about who's in the room and what's important for the people.
Yeah. So the first question was, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word brain? And a lot of our participants answered intelligence, thinking, thoughts, storm, knowledge, power, and smart. I should be honest, if I heard the word brain, I would think organ. And I see that some people also answered that. All right, the next one is, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word culture? A lot of our audience answered diversity. They also said gap, society, customs, people, travel, and differences. It's interesting that a lot of them say that gap they relate the word gap to culture.
On the other side, I must say that I'm also impressed by how many different answers we have. So it's also nice to see this diversity, and it's also an exercise about what keeps people together. Like, apparently we have some common understanding, but sometimes we have a very diverse way of thinking.
The next one. What do you think it is that keeps people together in society? A lot of them say that it is trust, mutual respect and trust, mutual respect, belonging, and common interests. So I think we can agree that mutual respect and trust keeps people together in society. Next. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word lobby? Majority says that it is influence, followed by interests, networking, and persuasion, as well as industry and group. And now we have a poll. So what's actually interesting is, for this question, what should be the culture of an organization? This is a trick question that you prepared because everything is the correct answer, but majority answered collaborative. So the culture of an organization should be collaborative with 74% of votes, and people-oriented with 56% of votes. Oh, but we have a question that's probably related to the previous poll. I think we can still take this. Bogdan, what do we have when we have to collaborate with a one-man show? What is your advice on that?
Well, we can. I would say that it's quite difficult. It happens to me. I mean, let's give an example. Like for instance, in the past 2 years, I was supposed to work with someone that was my project officer, so managing a project I applied for, and it was not easy because we had like very different thoughts and different ideas and some sort of conflicts, and it's not very easy to work with the person because you cannot just change it easily. What I realized is that just talking more honestly about what are you really interested is very important. Like there is this example that there are two kids fighting for the orange, and the mother comes home, and the first thing to do is to cut the orange in two. And the conclusion of this is that, well, it's a wrong approach because the first thing we should do is to ask the kids what they want. And sometimes when I work only with the person, I know that we might have some friction. And if we have friction, we start with this question like, what do you really want from me? It's quite hard to get to ask this question and to understand what's the position of that person, but this is how I would usually do it. So I do think it's a challenge when you work only with the person. So not that easy, but of course there could be like some techniques of this. So also one recommendation for the people in the room, if they have like these kind of questions about particular situations, they could write us a short email. We will be that 7% that replied to the emails this time. And we could send some interesting articles about neuroscience of people and how they relate and how to improve a bit the communication with other people or the collaboration with other people.
All right, so let's move on to the next question. In reality, people are focused and productive for about 3 hours a day. Majority of you said that, and it is the correct answer. Here we only have one correct answer.
Well, I was also expecting people to contradict this and to press, but nobody did.
Maybe they also observed it within themselves that they're only focused for 3 hours and then. All right, a smartphone on your desk reduces brain power. 88% say that this is the answer, and it is indeed correct. All right. Next. EU projects exist because, so it's another trick question. All the choices are the correct answers, but majority of you say that they exist because we have to learn how to produce European public goods. Next. Now, how do we start an EU project? All of the choices are the correct answers again, but majority of you say that we identify a problem, with 80% of respondents saying this. And the last one, when I think about decisions, I think about options. We see that options is the biggest cloud, followed by solutions, results, change something with my and others' life, and responsibility. That's interesting. All right. I think we are about to come to a close. So Andra and Bogdan, do you have any last parting words to our participants today?
Andra, please.
I just want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you also for your questions. We've learned a lot from them too, and from the answers of the quizzes. We certainly have a lot to learn from your perspectives as well. Thank you.
Bogdan?
As my last question was about decisions, I just want to end up with a very short story. Like, also, there's a very interesting study that says that we basically have a very limited amount of decision power during the day. So imagine that the power to take decision is more or less like a cup of coffee. And every time you take a decision, you just spill a bit down. And people take a lot of decisions from the morning, like to answer or not to answer an email, to have coffee with milk or not without milk, to take bread for breakfast or not. And then already when they get to work or when they are at lunch, their decision power is already gone. So this happens with the people that go home and when they're asked by their partners, family, or they ask themselves, what should I eat for dinner? They say, I don't know. So that's the reason why decision power is very important. So my advice for you is that you should automate a lot of unimportant decisions, like, there are some people that always dress the same, or there are some people that always eat the same lunch, also because they keep the important decision-making power for really important things. So my advice for you is that when you go to work and you plan to start a project, decide about nothing, keep everything for the project. Like, think about what you should write, what should be the call. Don't reply 100 emails. Don't make a fight about who should be in the project. Just keep all these precious limited resources for the project. That's it with me. What I would like to say is that we thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed our experiment, like to mix discussions with videos. It's a pity or not that we're online this year, because we were planning to make like a day event, very long with a lot of things. But we're very happy we got in contact with you even like this. So thank you very much for your time today. And thanks for the organizers and for our moderators and all the URADA team that is behind the technical things, because there's a lot of invisible work even behind the screen. So thanks a lot.
And of course, on behalf of URADA, I'd also like to thank you, Bogdan and Andra, for organizing and for leading today's sessions. I'm sure that a lot of our participants learned a lot from you today. And to our participants today, thank you for joining us. Thank you for deciding and for giving us a couple of your hours of your morning. We hope to have imparted some knowledge to you today. Please don't forget to continue joining us, because this is a 3-day event. So tomorrow at the same time, with the same link, I believe, tomorrow we will be talking about the aspects of project management. So we have a lot of speakers who have prepared more activities for you guys. So we hope to see you then. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.